Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today I am going to make laser patches and I'm just going to use my X-Tool F1 light in this video. However, basically any laser will do what I'm going to do here. You might have to play with the settings depending on the laser you use. So I am going to engrave some ready-made patches and I'm also going to use Siser brick to cut and engrave some patches with this laser. So both of these are very cool and you might want to experiment a little bit and make some patches of your very own. So let's take a look at how to use this machine to engrave on patches. Within X-Tool Creative Space, go ahead and click Image and find the image on your computer. Once you have the image on the screen, go ahead and resize to fit the patch that you're using. So I'm going to make mine around 2 inches. And then if you're going to engrave on a patch that's already made, you would make these lines engrave lines. And you can go ahead and choose from materials or use your own settings. So I'm going to choose from some leather options. Now if you also need to cut the leather into a shape, you can add a shape. This might also help you locate and size the design. So I'm going to go ahead and make a 3-inch circle and you can kind of lay that over your design and see how that design is going to look on your patch. And if you needed to cut the material out to make a patch, you would choose cut for this outer line. I'm going to use my X-Tool F1 light for this. Going to open it up and add the patch to the inside. Once the patch is in the machine, you can auto focus or manual focus. Then I can click framing to see exactly where the design will be on the patch. And I'm just going to move the patch where the design will be centered. Then I'm going to go ahead and shut the protective cover and go ahead and click process. This design will take about 38 seconds on the F1 light. I'm going to go ahead and click start to engrave. You do need to press the button on the side of the machine to start the engraving process. Once it's done, you can go ahead and lift up the cover and take a look at the gorgeous engraving. So I'm going to do a few more different types of patches before we take a look at the results on this. You can also use something like brick HTV to make a patch. So first of all, we will be cutting this material, so I went ahead and added this piece to the F1 light. Secondly, the brick is designed to be cut on the back mirrored, however we want to engrave the top of it. So I'm just going to remove it from the carrier sheet, and I just cut me a small square, and we're just going to peel the carrier sheet away from this material. Now you do want to keep up with which side is which at this point. So the carrier sheet side, the side we're removing the carrier sheet from, I am going to be engraving on that side. So I'm keeping up with which side that is. I'm going to put it top side up. And then I'm going to just sort of manually focus. For the cut, I'm going to try a power of 82, speed of 20. For the engrave, I'm going to try a power of 100, DPI of 233, and see how that works. And then I did change the passes to 3 to get a deeper engraving into this material. And then click framing to frame that out. Make sure that looks good. Close the lid and go ahead and click process. I'll click start and hit the button on the side of the machine. Once that's done, we'll just lift this up, and as quick as you can do this, if you'll go ahead and remove this, sometimes the adhesive can sort of stick around the edges. So if you can do it just as soon as the machine stops, you'll have better luck. And so I'll do a few more of these and then we can take a look at the engraving result. So I made several different patches with my laser. So these are the ready-made leather patches. And I must say I love the way these turned out. The black and the white especially are gorgeous. I do like the colored ones as well. Now I use the X-Tool settings for different colors of leather for each of these. So I changed it from rose leather to teal leather to black leather to white leather. When it came to the brown leather patches, this was the settings for Xtool. Didn't like those. I turned up the power for this version. I like it better, but I do think the power needs to be even more. So you might need to play around with your settings on these for some lasers. Then I moved on to making patches with Siser brick. So I did the black one first, and it turned out really cool. However, it's a tone on tone effect. So you can see the engraving, but it is black. These colors, however, once you engrave it, you get a different color out of the brick, which is awesome. So the pink looked great with just the settings that I used for the black. Now the blue, I had to turn this way up. I had to do 3 passes for the outside edge and 7 passes for the engraving. So I definitely had to turn it up and could probably even use to turn it up even more. So you probably need to play with your settings on these. However, this is a great alternative for patches. Now, what do you do with any of these patches? So what you're gonna do is follow the instructions to add them to whatever surface you would like. A hat, a backpack, whatever. So they would have heating instructions for these ready-made patches. And then the Siser brick, you would just follow the instructions for HTV. However, because we removed that carrier sheet, you'll want to be sure to put something over the top, Teflon sheet or whatever, while you're pressing. So laser patches can be so fun to make. I absolutely love these pre-made patches from Heat Transfer Warehouse because they have a different color underneath. So once you laser engrave over the top, a different color comes through. And I showed you that on some Siser brick colors. It works that way as well. However, a lot of like the things that you might engrave, like the Siser brick black, it's the same color inside. So it doesn't really pop off of the surface like something like these patches that are made for your laser will do. So if you use just a plain leather patch within your laser, you might not get the same effect that I got here. The patches that I'm using are specifically made for a laser. And now all that's left for me to do is to apply these to my favorite surface, and I will have some super cute patches on whatever surface I would like, just with some heat application. So be sure to follow the application instructions for whatever patches that you're using. If you want to use the same patches that I'm using, or you want to know where to get Siser brick, then I will link to everything that I'm using, including the cute book file that you can get for free, in the description below this video. So head there to get all the supplies that I'm using and give this one a try for yourself. I really think you're gonna like it. Now, if you have any questions about lasering on patches, please drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video and it helped you, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. I have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't wanna miss any of those. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.